Welcome to Morning Market Call. I'm your host, Dave Wood. We are at the NAT conference here at the Tanner Building. With me today is Kay King, who is a principal with the Podesta Group as a lobbyist in Washington. And if you want to know what it is you need done in Washington, we need to talk to Kay. Welcome. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for asking me.
We're very glad to have you. So first of all, you're a lobbyist.
Yes.
Tell us what you actually, we know that you are hired by firms to represent their views on the Hill. They obviously need people who can get things done. Can you explain a little bit what your job is like?
Sure. Lobbyists sort of have a bad reputation lately.
Really?
Really, I'm sure. Because there are some lobbyists who've not done the right things. But I would say that the ones that I know and have met, and certainly the firm that I work with, is extremely careful to follow the law and not do things that are improper or illegal. And so that's good. Basically, if you have a problem with something that the administration or Congress is doing that would affect your business or your country or whatever, you might want to hire a lobbying firm to help you get your point of view across and your story out about why a particular bill or regulation would be harmful to you.
So I think MBAs might be grossly underpaid. So then I would come to you and say, please help us.
That would be hard.
That would be hard.
That would be hard.
So your travels have obviously taken you to a number of different places with a number of different people. I understand that you are familiar and know the Dalai Lama and also Richard Gere as well.
That's right.
What are they like?
Terrific. I started out, I worked for Congress for 25 years on Capitol Hill, and I worked, a lot of the issues I handled were foreign affairs and human rights issues. And in 1987, the congressman that I worked for was Congressman Tom Lantos, who, by the way, got an honorary doctorate here at BYU.
Okay.
He's dead now, but we invited the Dalai Lama to come to Capitol Hill to talk about human rights abuses in Tibet. The Dalai Lama was expelled from Tibet in 1959, and the Chinese took over, and Tibetans have suffered greatly. He's now the government exile is in India.
Right.
And a lot of people didn't know about what the situation was. So we had the Dalai Lama come and talk to members of Congress and staff and others about the problems that Tibetans have in Tibet with basically not being treated like it's their country anymore because the Chinese have moved in so much and they've become kind of secondary in their own land.
And he's got quite a bit of awareness because of public speaking engagements like this, correct?
That's right. He won the Nobel Peace Prize, which we helped him to get, and Congressional Medal of Honor, which again we helped pass legislation to give that. And he's visited Congress a number of times. I've been to visit him in Dharamsala, where he lives, and he's a good friend.
Now, Richard Gere isn't quite as weighty a topic, is that right? I understand you have a few photos with him.
Oh yes, oh yes. Richard is a Buddhist, and he feels very strongly about the human rights problems that Tibetans suffer. And he acts as a voice for them. A lot of movie stars do that. They'll take on a cause because they know they'll be heard. So I had Richard come to Capitol Hill in 1988 to testify at a hearing that we put on human rights abuses in Tibet. And I got to know him very well then and had my first picture taken with him in 1988.
And there's 12 pictures, is that right?
Oh, I've got at least that.
Okay.
Every time he comes back to the Hill to testify, since I know him so well, I'm usually the one that meets him and takes him around.
Right.
And we always have our picture taken. And he said to me once, Kay, you don't really want another photo, do you? And I said, oh yes, Richard, I do. I said, I have this book called Kay with Famous People. And I said, I have a whole section called Growing Old with Richard. And he laughed and he said, I'm growing old, but you're not. And I said, oh, that's why we love you, Richard.
Oh, that's great.
So he's very nice. He's kissing me on the cheek in one, he's holding me tightly in another. It's just a joke now. It's very fun.
Okay. Now, obviously, I'm an MBA student. We have a lot of MBA students out there. We're curious, if we wanted to get a job in Washington, perhaps as a lobbyist, would you recommend it, and how would we get there?
You can get a job with a lobbying firm to start out, but the better paid jobs, the more senior positions, go normally to people who have two things. They know how Washington works, and they know how to get things done in Washington. They know a lot of people on the Hill, in the administration, in various agencies, so forth. But the other thing is they have an expertise in a field. So they'll, like I'm in the international section because I have done mostly work with the international things in my Hill work. But we have people who do healthcare. We have people who do transportation or defense or whatever. And those are people who have experience in those fields. So what generally happens is someone comes to Washington and they go to work on the Hill and Senate or House and get experience with a particular subject matter, work their way up through the committee system or whatever, or they might go with some other agency or the government. But the main thing is to get the expertise in a field. Then you can go and sell yourself to a lobbying firm because you know how to get things done and you know what needs to be done and you understand the politics.
And then you can make the big money.
Then you can make the big money. But lobbyists make a lot of money, a lot of money.
Thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you.
This has been another riveting episode of Morning Market Call. Thanks to Kay King for being with us today, and we'll see you next time.
Morning Market Call is brought to you by the Marriott School of Management in cooperation with the Brigham Young University Department of Communications. MMC is made possible by generous donations from Larry Tasjan and Gary Williams. This show was produced by Jeff Butler, David Wood, and Doug Mumford, with line producing by Beth GRIMMETT. For more information, please follow us on Twitter and Facebook.